Brand new for you this morning. The Trump administration is asking Pentagon officials to provide, quote, credible military options to ensure unfettered U.S. access to the Panama Canal, which by most accounts they already have. That is according to a memo sent to senior Pentagon officials and obtained by CNN. CNN's Zachary Cohen joins us now to share his new reporting. First of all, what else is in this new memo? And to be clear, at this point, there's no indication that the U.S. is having trouble getting through the Panama Canal, right?
Yes, Sarah, that's right. This memo amounts really to a major overhaul of the Pentagon's priorities, and it's a shift that is really intended to align more closely the military's focus with Donald Trump's stated goals. And that includes something he's talked about publicly on various occasions, including recently, the need to reclaim access to the Panama Canal. And this memo really does spell out pretty clearly that he's ordering and formally directing the Pentagon and military leaders to draw up military options. It says, quote, immediately provide credible military options to ensure fair and unfettered U.S. military and commercial access to the Panama Canal. But as you mentioned, there is no indication that American ships, military or otherwise, are having difficulty getting through the Panama Canal. This is already causing confusion with the Panamanian government, which has said this topic has not even come up in their conversations with Trump officials. So obviously Trump directing the military to come up with options, but it remains to be seen how those options might be implemented, if at all.
Yeah, I mean, we remember this sort of attack by Donald Trump on the Panamanian government. We will see how this all plays out over time. Zachary Cohen, have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Donald Trump wants Canada, Greenland, and now he's directing the Pentagon to draw up military plans for the Panama Canal. The formal request uses the language of credible military options to ensure fair and unfettered American access to the canal. But since December, Trump has repeatedly insisted that the canal needs to be reclaimed by the U.S., something that Panama has flat out rejected. Now, this memo from the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth marks a major shift in U.S. policy. Here we go again. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I guess we are going to invade Panama?
No.
Look, we're going to invade?
That's
what it seems like.
Listen.
Trump keeps saying he wants to do these things, and then you keep telling me he doesn't want to do it.
This is very simple. The Southern Command asked for a range of options from closer coordination with Panamanian security forces all the way to what if we have to take it by force. It is good for the United States to be prepared, and the entire project is about what do we have to do to counter Chinese influence on the Panama Canal, which is a real thing, which everyone acknowledges. We do need to get it back under control. They are violating their treaty obligations. We cannot let China run roughshod over this canal.
Didn't a U.S. firm just basically bring the ports that Trump was concerned about back under U.S. control?
But we may need some military
presence there. It sounds like bluster.
No, but break it just for a second, Scott, as quick as you can, just as a layman, what is China doing at the canal that the U.S. has such a big issue with?
They control the ins and outs, and they're also controlling the prices of the things going through there. Not Panama, not us. They've had a massive amount of influence over the commerce that goes through that, and that is a vital artery to get ships back and forth, and it's in our hemisphere, and I don't think Donald Trump, nor should any American president, want China having that much control over that much commerce and transit.
Let me just elaborate on that. So the two major ports on either end of the Panama Canal have been controlled and run by a Hong Kong-based conglomerate since 1997.
Who the Panamanians allowed to
run it.
Take over.
And most people may say, oh, well, Hong Kong, what does that have to do with China? They're autonomous. Well, in 2020, Beijing, the Chinese Communist Party, superseded the Hong Kong Assembly to take over national security and whatever they deem to be national security. And Scott mentioned the Southern Command. The head of the Southern Command testified in front of the House Armed Services Committee and said that this is critical to Chinese interests. The Panama Canal is part of their long-term plan.
From a policy perspective, other than the threat of military force, what is Trump doing about it?
Well, I mean, to Scott's point, we have entire files of contingency plans
I'm saying
at the Pentagon.
Other than the invasion of Panama, what is Trump doing about this?
Doing about countering Chinese influence?
In the Panama Canal specifically.
Yeah, we're saying out loud we are prepared to take any action necessary to make Panama live within the treaty obligations.
So in other
and
words,
kick China
you're
out.
saying
that's a
Trump
policy
is
of the United
making
States.
a threat that he has no intention of carrying out.
I don't know what he's going to do.
But there's no policy behind that. There's no, diplomacy behind it. There's no. carrot behind it at all.
You want to give carrots to China for trying to have an incursion in our hemisphere?
To
I
Panama,
don't.
because China is giving carrots to Panama.
Well, they are
We're
having good relations
trying
with
to threaten
Panama.
them with
They are
this.
negotiating.
Here's the issue. Like, I agree with the end state of what needs to happen in the Panama Canal. We do need to make sure that China doesn't control the ins and outs there. The difference is you don't do this by threatening an invasion. And this is where my issue is with, like, you know, Greenland and Canada are totally separate things, of course. But with that is like, pretending like you might invade, obviously leaking that you've created invasion plans. I don't see the point in that. Again, I actually agree with the end state of what we need to do in Panama. I don't think we should take back over the Panama Canal. But it's like you're threatening Panama, you're threatening Canada, LOL, we're going to make you the 51st state, Greenland.
Can I
that's
just,
where-
let me- can I just play, because you brought up Greenland, I think it's worth a discussion too, because this literally happened in the Oval Office today. Trump sitting next to the NATO chief, and he says this about Greenland.
What is your vision for the potential annexation of Greenland and getting them potentially to
Well, I think it'll happen. You know, Mark, we need that for international security, not just security, international. We have a lot of our favorite players, you know, cruising around the coast, and we have to be careful.
I mean, as people pointed out, the NATO chief didn't say anything. He was just kind of sitting there while Trump was basically, essentially threatening to illegally invade a territory of a NATO ally.
Yeah, Trump looks silly in all of this. I'm sorry. He is attempting to forcefully take away a friendly nation, you know, and their territory. And I think that a question that I continue to ask in this presidency is, why does he continue to try to do this to our allies? This is whether it's Canada, whether it's Greece, the list goes on. And I just think that how it's very hard to take Trump seriously when he makes these jokes all of the time. And it's something
not a
that
joke.
It could be
It's
like
not
a
a joke.
boy who cries wolf
It's
kind
not
of
a joke.
situation
It is.
where he continues to threaten the military in places where he has no intention of actually doing it. His word is being diluted by these empty threats.
What if we woke up in the morning and China had said, you know what, screw this, we're going to send some military over towards the Panama Canal, or we're going to say no to this idea that we shouldn't control the Panama Canal? Would you rather or rather not have the United States government prepared for any possible contingency with China?
Scott, I expect that the United States government is prepared for every contingency. They just
We are
don't
now.
talk about it.
We are now.
They just don't talk about
I
it.
don't think that scenario is planning for what if the Chinese military comes over, then what do we do? My guess is that scenario plans for how do we fight the Panamanian Defense Forces to take this. And again, it's like, here's the reason, by the way, that Donald Trump threatens our allies and not people that really deserve threats, is because he's small, he's scared, he's a coward. And you can threaten your friends because you know you're not going to start a war over it, and it makes you look really tough. If you tweet in all caps and then you threaten Panama, it makes you look like you're ready to go to war and tough. But you don't say he doesn't say much about Iran. He's pretty quiet on that. Certainly Russia. And China he's been quiet on lately.
Well, we weren't
because there's
so,
reality with that.
We weren't so quiet on Iran when we killed the head of their
he's quiet on
defense
China.
forces,
That was
but-
6 years ago. I'm talking about
I mean,
today.
he's pretty tough on Iran.
He's quiet on China because about a week ago, the Chinese embassy said, quote, if it's war the U.S. wants to be a tariff, trade, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end.
Isn't that a reason, by the way, to be prepared for the Chinese if they're going to rattle sabers?
I think the Chinese
If
were
they're willing to
posturing
say that, what
because
should we
were
do?
posturing. If you're posturing violence first, then what do you expect China to then reply
We're not.
with?
We're not posturing violence. We're posturing. We want to push back on them with tariffs, and we want to push back on them economically. But this Panama Canal business has been an issue for years, and it festered under several administrations. He's saying no more. I mean, that's
Look,
the bottom
I don't
line.
think anybody is disputing the nature of the problem. I think the question is, what is the actual solution? Trump keeps talking about the one solution that everybody agrees, including you, that he has no intention of carrying out.
If our troops are down there over a shortcut for boats, that is not the type of war we need to be having.
I think MAGA voters
you
would
will
have
not
something
be
to say
Secretary
about
of
that.